Hey guys, I want to take just 1 second to point something out here. This movie does take place after 9/11, right after 9/11. I don't care what side of what conspiracy theory you're on, it doesn't matter. The soldiers who went out and fought for our country and fought for people out there, they deserve your respect, no matter what. They didn't cause this, they didn't call for this, they didn't ask for this. They went out, they served, they put their lives on the line, and they deserve every bit of respect. So no matter what you think of this movie, don't put it back on the soldiers. Respect them. Show them the respect they absolutely deserve. Now on to talking about the movie. Hey, it's Average Drew Movie Review, and this time we're looking at 12 Strong. Okay, so 12 Strong is the first special forces team to directly go after the Taliban in Afghanistan with the help of an Afghan warlord. That's your basics of what the movie is. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes long, so it is a relatively long movie, and it is rated R. I would not take my kids to this. So if you're asking about family friendly, the answer here is simply no. It is a war movie. It is a straight out, full out, big bangs, lots of guns. I don't know that I'm going to say a lot of blood. There is some blood, but it's not excessive. It's not Quentin Tarantino blood, but there is some blood. Not even a lot of language in this one, which is really, really nice. So it's directed by Nikolai Fugelsig. I think I said that right. He's a fairly new director. Does some good work, though. I'm going to say I'm enjoying his stuff to some degree. You've got Chris Hemsworth in this, Michael Pena, Rob Riggle, William Fichtner, and Trevante Rhodes. It's got a great cast. The actors in this are awesome. It wasn't enjoyable. It was this is a wait for the cheap theaters or wait until Redbox or Netflix kind of movie, which is saying something because I love war movies. I absolutely love war movies. Do them all the time. This one just couldn't get into. The writing was mediocre at best. And I mean, even though the actors worked really, really hard and did a great job bringing it to life, it fell short in a lot of areas for me. So entertainment-wise, I'm going to say this is about a 2-star movie. Overall, when you put everything together, I'm going to give this a 2.5 stars. Okay, so now we're into spoilers. It's the fun part of the show, at least for me. Okay, so halfway through the movie, there's been a lot of gunfighting. Okay, we're already into it. There's not a lot of training up front. There's not a lot going on before all the fighting happens. So you get into it really pretty quick. There is a little bit up front, but not a ton. At about the halfway marker, I realized that inside the battle scenes and the fighting, I had not seen a single magazine change. So I started to specifically watch for this, which detracts from the movie. I'm watching this stuff to get drawn into it, to be drawn into it. It's got to be somewhat accurate. I'm into guns. I enjoy this. It's a thing that I really like to do. I like to shoot. And so when you're seeing 150 rounds go by and you're not changing a single magazine, I start having problems with this, and it's not realistic. It wasn't until the final battle in the movie that I finally saw the first magazine change, at least that I saw. Not saying that there wasn't another one, but it's what I saw. I finally saw the first magazine change, which was Taliban warrior, pulls out the magazine and fumbles, and you never actually see him get the magazine in. And he's a little further back. He's in the center of the screen, but a little further back. And so it's not even the focus point. But he starts to do that. A few minutes later, Chris Hemsworth pulls a magazine out of his M16, drops it, and for basically no apparent reason, pulls his sidearm, turns, and there's a guy coming around a tank. Didn't hear anything. There was just a massive explosion. He's still in shell shock. And even as an audience being inside the theater, you couldn't hear anything. Nothing was going on. But he grabs his sidearm and turns around, and all of a sudden a guy pops around a corner from a tank, and Chris Hemsworth shoots him and does a couple other things and then puts it away. Now, he pulled the magazine. You never actually really get to see him put the other magazine back into it. They're back up on the horses, charging again. Mind you, this is the final battle that this is happening. Shooting, brr, 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 and then full auto, brr, just going horseback style. And it's not until the battle is actually over and he finally pulls another magazine out. You can still see rounds in the magazine, drops it, and that's when you see him finally lock in another mag. That That really bothered me. As somebody who uses weapons a lot, that really bothers me. It was very unrealistic. Another thing that was really, I mean, the sound work on this, the Foley work, the mixing work was actually really, really good. I was very impressed with all of that. The problem I had with it was the bombs. The bombs exploding were all huge. I mean, shake the entire theater. You're shaking in your seat going, I thought I lost weight, but now I'm not sure. It brings you into it. If the explosion is right next to where you are, which is where the camera is. However, if the shot is far back and the explosion is really pretty far away, that explosion should be a totally different volume. There should be a delay in it. You shouldn't shake as much. Shaking's good, but I want to have like a 30 hertz. I'm an audio guy. I want to have like some subsonic, you're not going to hear the thing, frequencies in there. So you start shaking a little bit and then the sound hits you. That's cool. I would be into that. I didn't notice it. All of the explosions were basically the same volume, which made it even harder for me to get into the movie because it was just not realistic. And I never felt like I could really relate to any of the main characters. Any of the Americans, I never liked them the entire way through the movie. I'm not going to say it's an acting thing. I actually think it was how it was written. I don't think it was written well. The dialogue in this film was pretty cheesy at times. And by at times, I mean the vast majority of the time, it was pretty darn cheesy. So it made it even harder to get into. And like I said, there was very little backstory. You found out, a couple of guys are married. They're trying to make you care about these people because they've got families back home. They never succeed. I never liked these guys at all. In fact, the only people I ended up liking in this movie was one kid. And if you watch the movie, you'll know the one I'm talking about. And the warlord that they're working with. That's it. That's all I cared about. Never cared about anyone else. Like I already said, the writing was a bit cheesy. In fact, really cheesy. And this all-star cast couldn't even pull it off. It just wasn't salvageable. It really needed to be rewritten. Oh well. The ending. Oh my gosh. It was the literal hands up in the air. What? All right, and I did. I actually lifted my hands in the air and went, ugh, why? Chris Hemsworth's character, he comes home, but you don't see him coming home. What you see is you're inside the house looking outside, and you see his wife and his daughter putting up Christmas lights on the bush right in front of the window. In the shot, you actually see the driveway. You see the street coming around. They're in the bend of the street. There's the driveway coming up. There's no way to approach this house and not be seen, especially with you being in the front yard. Then what happens is the camera's no longer inside the house. Now the camera's outside the house, and you see their reflection in the glass, and you see Chris Hemsworth inside the house walking towards the window and gets a big, cheesy grin on his face. The mom sees him and tells the daughter, look who's here, Daddy's home. What? How did he get inside the house without them seeing him? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it really felt like, well, honestly, it felt like it fit with the movie because it just didn't work. This story really does need to be told, and I want to make that clear. This story deserves to be told. It's a great story. It's based on true events, but this movie just did not do a good job of capturing that. It really felt like it was just slapped together, and it just didn't work. I do want to take a second and talk about the cinematography. The video work on this was really, really good. That is something that to me stood out. The film work on this was good. That being said, there is a dialogue scene where it's a pretty intense dialogue between Chris Hemsworth and his team. Okay, I get wanting to go artsy and changing the focus. Go ahead and change your f-stops and things like that. But if you have basically everything in focus because it's a war movie all the time, you can see far out, you can see close in, everything's great. It makes sense. And they're trying really hard to make this a very deep and a very powerful message that they're talking about. And so it's in on Chris's face, and everything in the back is completely blurred. And I mean completely blurred. Like they could have done it in a hotel room and green screened it and you would never know. They could have probably done it in a hotel room with a desert background, like a desert wallpaper, and you would never know. That also detracted for me because it didn't fit with the rest of the film. Everything else was completely different. It just didn't even seem to make sense. But yeah, again, honestly, this movie is a wait for Redbox, wait for Netflix, or at least wait until it gets to the cheap theaters. It's just not worth the full ticket price. But hey, thanks for checking it out. Make sure to check out the next one. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like the review, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. You know how, and you want to. Also, if you'd like to support the show, I'd love it. Head on over to patreon.com/averagedrew. That's how I'm able to put out more and more reviews just like this one. Now go on out there, watch a movie.